Testnet Goerli. I like to call it Testnet Gary because it just sounds kind of funnier. I don't know. Ether spikes to $1.60 as traders jump on opportunity meant for developers. See, there's an opportunity to make money everywhere in crypto. So gETH pumped over $1.60 this weekend, rising from 7 cents last Friday. And it reached a market cap of 15 million, which is pretty impressive. Nearly $1 million worth of gETH was traded in the past 24 hours, with 3.79 million total of gETH in circulation and 1,260 token holders at press time. But it has now dumped over 40%, which makes sense because that's kind of what traders do. They get in and get out. Goerli is a testnet version of Ethereum for developers to simulate transactions, smart contracts, and test their code prior to deploying on mainnet. Will, since you are our tech person, I think, are you the tech savvy person of the show today?
Maybe.
I'm going to toss this over to you. I'll toss it over to you,
Christy's
even though it's not
too.
You or Christy, you guys want to fight for it?
You got options today. That's a nice thing. I'll take it really quick and throw it over to Christy.
Give it to you.
Yeah, this is a funny story, and I think it kind of goes to the point that everything in crypto has a price, right? Like most things in the world actually have a price. We just don't think about it because there's not really a marketplace for them, right? So like I'm in a room right now with a bunch of potted plants. It's not really a price that we think about for them, but they actually do have a price. We just don't have a marketplace for them. And Goerli was the same story, right? There wasn't really a marketplace for Goerli ETH. Like if you wanted some, you'd go into a Discord channel, you'd ask a bot for some, and then it would send it to your ETH address just as a faucet. And this is a common thing in crypto, right? We're going back in history. There was even Bitcoin faucets when Bitcoin basically had no price because there was no marketplace for it. Once these marketplaces start showing up, people start pricing things. And the same thing is happening with gETH here, right? Where they put it on Uniswap for the first time and then it starts trading at a price. And people don't like that because it really is used just for developers. People use gETH to test new applications. It's really the only purpose for getting it. And all of a sudden it has a price and people aren't comfortable with it. I'm not really uncomfortable with the story though, because I think it just makes sense. Like it's not ever going to have the price that ETH does because ETH is where the action actually is, where people are actually putting applications on chain that people are using for trading and finances and things like that. gETH is just for testing things around. So I think people got uncomfortable with it. But to me, it's not too big of a deal. But Christy, you might have another take.
Yeah, I first off, my first reaction was, wow, is this ever dumb? Because these are testing tokens. These aren't supposed to have value. The value is in the testing environment. And it is, as you said, they were distributed through a faucet. Like you just got it for free in order to test things. Now, what is, I think, unfortunate about this situation, and this is where, as Will alluded to, people are getting uncomfortable about it, is that it's basically going to end up wrecking the testnet. There were, I think, 4 testnets originally before the mainnet release of ETH2, as they say, of proof of stake, and they deprecated 2 of them. And Goerli is one of the remaining testnets. And now we're going to lose Goerli because it's having these tokens an ascribed value to them now that makes it expensive for developers to use them and test things on the network in the way it's meant to. It looks as if they may just deprecate that network as well. One of the developers said, well, it's done well, it's run its course, and that's totally fine. But that does, what happens if they do the same to the next test network that's left? So that's I think the concern there. I don't know how big a concern that is, but that's, I guess, one of the reasons why people were uncomfortable with the whole idea of these tokens for some reason, reasons having value suddenly. What do you think, Jen?
Well, I have a bunch of gETH that the developers send me to test things, and I read the headline and I was like, am I rich? And then turns out I'm not. But the story made me wonder, Christy, and maybe you can answer this question for me. How is this going to affect the developers? Does it have a big impact on developers who are building things now? What's going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, literally, I don't know. I just know that if you are a developer who is randomly testing stuff on ETH, on the Goerli test network, then it's going to cost you to use the gETH in order to make your products or your applications run or test. Now, perhaps this will then get kicked back to a company that is sponsoring the developers or who's hired these developers, and they can eat the costs, and it's no big deal. But it does look as if they are just going to end the test network, which means they will lose that environment and have to switch to, I can't remember which one's left, but there's at least one left because 2 of them were already deprecated. So yeah, that's I think the concern. And hopefully we don't end up with the same thing happening on the remaining network. So yeah, anybody have anything else they want to add to that before we...
Man.
I just want to add really quickly.
Yeah, Wendy?
I totally get the concern that it's, making it harder for the developers to develop and, focus on what they're doing because of the cost implied now. But at the same time, I think that this is also a cool part about crypto is that people can find value in anything and create value anywhere. And I just like the idea of being able to transact and, use different things however you want to use them. But again, I still empathize with the developers because I understand that can be a little bit of a pain.
You do, Jen.